Best late entry of the century. Braga! Huh. Yo! I'm not going to smoke.
Chapter 5. The Natter Incident. Elsewhere, far away from Burke was a fleet of ships locked in a search for the dragon's nest, and on the leading ship of the search was Stoic the Vast, whose eyes were filled with determination. I can almost smell them. They're within reach. Steady the ships, he said in a low voice as the ships started to move inside a fog. Head towards the fog, he commanded. However, a few seconds after they moved in the fog, screams and shouts were heard as the dragons found them. Meanwhile, the next day back at Burke, Hiccup and Hiccup decided to find out what they can about night furies, hang out with Rada for a few hours and then head to the cove. However, they soon found out that asking Gobber a few questions during training would be easier said than done. You know, Hiccup and I read the Dragon Manual and we noticed that it didn't have much information about night furies. Is there another book for that? Or a sequel? Maybe a little night fury pamphlet or something? Hiccup asked Gobber, who was on a perch above the arena. Or maybe someone we could talk to, Hiccup tried right before she and her brother got their axes blasted. Keep your heads in training, you two. Neither of you are even trying. Gobber shouted. For today's training the entire arena was set up as maze and the goal for the 8 teens was to navigate through the maze. To add to this, they also had to dodge 2 deadly natters, one blue and one purple, who not only fired flames but also spikes from their tails. Today's lesson is another simple one: attack. Deadly natters are very stealthy because they are very quick and light on their feet. You need to be quicker and lighter than them. I'm really beginning to question your very unique teaching methods. Fishlegs yelled as he narrowly avoided natter spikes. You're beginning to. I've been questioning them since day one. Rada yelled as she ran through the maze. Gobber ignored that and continued, look for its blind spot. Every dragon has one. You can use it to your advantage if you can find it, hide in it, and strike. Roughnut and Toughnut tried to follow that advice when they came face to face with the blue natter. Unfortunately, that was not working well for Roughnut. Do you ever bathe? Do you even know what that is? Hey, this is my blind spot. If you don't like, find your own blind spot. Toughnut said, shoving his sister. I'll show you what a blind spot looks like. However, their argument was cut off as the natter, who now knew they were there, shot deadly spikes at them. They ran away, just managing to avoid the spikes. Just because a dragon has a blind spot, doesn't mean it has a deaf spot. Gobber said in a bored tone. Hiccup decided to give another shot in asking for night furies. So, is there another book we could get on night furies? Or maybe we could ask Trader Johann when he comes on next visit. Distracted, Hiccup didn't realize 2 things. 1. She got separated from her brother, and 2. The purple deadly natter has spotted her and was getting ready to fire. Luckily Rada, who was nearby, saw this and managed to save Hiccup from being burnt to death. Why are you two suddenly asking about night furies in the middle of training? Rada asked, more curious than annoyed, as the both of them ran away to avoid the natter. We were just wondering, the Dragon Manual had nothing about them. Hiccup replied half honestly. Hiccup, meanwhile, also decided to try the same thing his sister did. Hey, so how would one sneak up on a night fury? He asked Gobber. Gobber, annoyed at him and his sister for not focusing, decided to be brief. They are elusive for a reason. No one has ever seen one and lived. Now focus. But that did not deter the stubborn haddock boy. I know, I read that, but hypothetically, he started to ask before being cut off by Astrid as she and Snotlout were crouched down beside a maze wall with the blue deadly natter inches away. Get down, she whispered at Hiccup. Deciding to save the questions for later, Hiccup crouched down behind Snotlout as Astrid looked ahead, waiting for the right opportunity. On the side opposite to the 3 teens, Hiccup and Rada came up. Rada, who saw Astrid and realized what she was going to, silently signaled Hiccup to get back, leaving space for the other 3. As the blue natter had its back turned, oblivious to the teens behind it, Astrid and Snotlout managed to tuck and roll safely to where Hiccup and Rada were. Hiccup, however, wasn't as lucky as the weight of the shield held him back, alerting the natter of his presence. The natter then went after him and came across Rada, Snotlout and Astrid. Rada, seeing her opportunity, got her bow and arrow ready. However, Snotlout, hoping to impress Astrid, shoved Rada out of the way. Watch out, Ray. I'll take care of this. With that, he threw his hammer which hit the maze wall instead, amusing the blue natter and earning glares from Rada and Astrid. The sun was in my eyes, Astrid and Rada. What do you two want me to do, block out the sun? I am capable of doing that, but I can't right now because I am being chased by a deadly natter. He defended himself as the three of them ran away from the natter. No longer being chased by the natters, Hiccup turned to Gobber, they sleep during the day. Just like a cat. Has anyone ever seen the dragon sleeping? Behind him the other teens ran away from the two deadly natters, with the blue one knocking down walls while chasing Astrid. Astrid then jumped on top of one of the falling maze walls and noticed that Hiccup was directly in her path. Hiccup! She yelled but it was too late. She fell on top of him with her axe stuck in his shield. Ooh! What do we have here? Love on the battlefield. Toughnut jeered. She could do way better. Roughnut taunted. Just then, the purple deadly natter came after the rest of the teens, launching its spines at them. Luckily for them, some of the spines got deflected by a shield as Rada bravely came in front of the natter, her bow and arrows ready. Having reached its shot limit, the purple natter decided to retreat, leaving the blue natter, who was approaching Hiccup and Astrid, the latter still trying to get her axe out of the former's shield. As the natter got closer to the two, Astrid decided to just take the axe with the shield still stuck on it and hit the natter in the face, causing the dragon to also retreat. Well done, Astrid and Rada. Gobber said. Thanks, Gobber. Rada said, pleased with herself. Astrid, however, was not happy at all. She turned to Hiccup who was still on the ground. Is this some kind of a joke to you? Like a playtime or something? Our parents' war is about to become ours. If you can't understand that then just drop out of training and figure out which side you're on. She shouted at him. Wordlessly, Hiccup got up and left. Hiccup stayed back, her blood started to boil after watching Astrid yell at her brother. Hey Astrid. She yelled as she came up to her and shoved her, much to everyone else's shock, what is your problem? Hiccup is not the only one who messed up and you know it. And yet you're still coming after him just because he accidentally got in your way. Exactly. He got in my way. That's what you two always do. We're here fighting for our lives and here you two are, getting in everyone's way and causing more disaster than there already is. Astrid shouted. There was silence in the arena. Rada was about to say something when Hiccup beat her to it, that's what we are to you. The village screw-ups just like to most of the Vikings here. In that case, I should apologize. Really, I should. I'm sorry that out of all the teens in this village I chose to be friends with you. Because right now, I'm seriously wondering why I ever did. Angry and hurt, Hiccup walked out of the arena, but not before adding something else, you know what Astrid? You may be the best in dragon training, actually you may be the best young warrior in Burke. But as a person, you're no better than anyone in this village. In fact, you're the worst. She then left, ignoring the surprised gasps from the other teens. For a moment no one said or did anything. Then Rada left, throwing one glare in Astrid's direction, to join Hiccup. As soon as she caught up with Hiccup, for a second, neither of the girls said anything, until Rada spoke up, wow, Hiccup. Just wow. How long have you been keeping that bottled up? A long time, Hiccup admitted. The Henderson girl then asked a question that has been on her mind for a while, what happened to you two? Back then you, Astrid and Hiccup used to be inseparable. How did you guys go from that to this? Hiccup took a deep breath before answering her question. You remember that point in our lives when our parents started training us to become warriors, teaching us to fight and all. Rada nodded, remembering clearly how her parents trained her day and night to reach perfection. Before she spent most of her time going nature walks, observing the various flowers and herbs that grew there and collecting seeds so that she could grow some of the plants at home. Ever since her parents started training her, she barely had time to do that anymore. Hiccup then continued, Astrid took that seriously. Like you, she trained every chance she got except it was by choice. And it paid off. She became one of the best. Hiccup and I on the other hand. We weren't so lucky. When we realized that the only weapon we could use was a dagger, we decided to try other ways to show our worth to the village. That was when we started building inventions. You know very well how those turned out. Again Rada nodded. The Haddock twins did have some great ideas, but because of their inexperience, their inventions had brought disastrous results to the village. We were already misfits because of our small sizes, but we added more fuel to that because of our inventions. Then one day, Astrid stopped talking to us. She just ignored us, and when she did notice us, she always gave us a glare. Guess she saw that we were more trouble than we were worth and decided to hang out with other, more Viking-like, teens. After hearing that, Rada suddenly stopped and looked at Hiccup. You guys are anything but trouble. You're both smart and brave. No one, not even Gabber, could come up with different inventions like you guys can. And bravery is not just fighting off enemies, it's being able to face your troubles and still hang on. You two have been doing that for years. Even when everyone puts you two down, you guys manage to bounce right back like it never hit you. This made Hiccup smiled, glad to have a friend like Rada. Soon the two girls reached the forge where they were met by a dejected-looking Hiccup. Hey sis, hey Rada. You did a good job in training today, Ray. He said, looking up to the girls. Thanks Hiccup. Listen, don't take what Astrid said personally. Yeah, you messed up today, but you weren't the only one. I mean, did you see Snotlout throwing his hammer at the Blue Natter? At least you didn't come up with excuses. Rada said, trying to cheer him up. He didn't even come up with an excuse that made sense. Hiccup added. Hiccup couldn't help but chuckle at that. So you made any new drawings lately? Hiccup asked Rada. Rada then took out her sketchbook, which she kept in a pocket of her quiver, and showed the twins. Hiccup and Hiccup may be able to make accurate drawings, but Rada's artwork surpassed both of theirs combined. Not only is she accurate in drawing still life, but her abstract work is absolutely mesmerizing. The twins can't help but be amazed at her creativity every time they see her work. Rada then told them the inspirations behind each artwork, and that began their chain of conversations, putting Rada at ease once again and making Hiccup and Hiccup forget about the Natter incident. This lasted all through the afternoon until Rada got up. I have to go, guys. Just because my parents are gone doesn't mean I can slack off that much. If I fall behind on my training, they will find out. She said, picking up her bow and quiver. The twins nodded understandingly. Gratefully they get to at least get some time to hang out with her. After Rada left, Hiccup and Hiccup turned to each other, knowing exactly what to do now. To the Night Furies. To the Night Furies. Chapter 6. The Bond. Moments later, they arrived at the cove with each twin carrying a fish and Hiccup holding up a shield just in case. They walked through passageway of the cove with Hiccup leading with his shield in front until it got stuck between the rocks of the narrow path. We forgot to check something. Hiccup said as he struggled to get his shield out of the way. Yeah, no kidding. Hiccup said, grateful that she didn't bring a shield. Realizing that the shield wasn't going to come out, Hiccup gave up and decided to crawl under the shield, followed by his sister. As they got up, they started looking around for the Night Furies, who seemed to have disappeared. Unbeknownst to them, the two Night Furies were perched high up on the rocks, observing the two humans. Only when Hiccup and Hiccup turned around they saw the two dragons watching them. The dragons then jumped to the ground, approaching the two kids cautiously while Hiccup and Hiccup stood there holding their fishes out as an offer to the dragons. Then the dragons' pupils turned into slits as they started growling. On a hunch, Hiccup and Hiccup took out their daggers that they brought with them. This caused the dragons to get in position to pounce on Hiccup and Hiccup. The twins then dropped their daggers. Seeing that this did not calm the dragons, they simultaneously lifted their own daggers with their feet and tossed it to the pond. This put the Night Furies at ease as their pupils became wider and they adopted a more curious look. They then slowly walked towards the twins, who held the fishes out for them to take. To the twins' surprise, the Night Furies opened their mouth to reveal gums where their teeth should be. I'm not the only one who's seeing this, right? Hiccup asked. No, you're not. Toothless. I could have sworn I saw the two of you had. Hiccup was then cut off as sharp teeth appeared from both the dragon's mouth. The dragons then snatched the fish out of the kid's hands and ate it in one go. Teeth. Hiccup said in shock. At least we still have all our fingers. Hiccup said, equally shocked. The dragon then got closer to the twins until they had them cornered against a rock. No. There's no more fish. Hiccup said nervously. That was all we have, sorry. Hiccup said in a soft voice. Hearing that, the two Night Furies turned to look at each other, then made some retching sounds. This confused Hiccup and Hiccup, until the two dragons regurgitated half of their fish, one fish on each twin's lap. The dragons then sat on their haunches and looked between the twins and the regurgitated fish. Realizing what they were supposed to do, Hiccup turned to her brother. I will only do this if you do this. She said. Hiccup sighed, and then took a bite out of his half-saliva-coated fish as his sister did the same. It took all they had not to throw up the disgusting fish as they turned to the dragons, convincing them that the fish was actually good. The dragons then swallowed, telling the twins that they have to do that. With a sigh both twins swallowed, turning green. They then gave the dragons a small smile which the dragons tried to replicate, shocking both Hiccup and Hiccup. The twins then looked at each other before getting up and reaching one hand each towards the Night Furies. However, it did not look like the Night Furies were ready to trust them just yet. Instead, they gave a warning growl and went somewhere else. The twins then decided to stay in the cove and observe the dragons a bit more. During this, the two discovered that the dragons were mates when they displayed affection for each other, like nuzzling and warbling each other in a loving way. When the Night Furies settled down for a nap, to their annoyance they found the twins suddenly sitting close to them offering them friendly smiles. The Night Furies simply huffed and each used a wing as a drape. Seeing this opportunity, Hiccup and Hiccup tried to touch the dragons only to be caught by said dragons as they lifted their wings. Caught, the twins simply walked away, leaving the dragons to sleep in peace. A while later, the dragons woke up to find the two humans were still there. Curious, both the dragons went to where the humans were to see what they were doing. Hiccup and Hiccup, who were drawing the dragons on the dirt with sticks, noticed the dragons were behind them but neither said anything as they continued drawing. After observing what the twins were doing, the dragons looked at each other before going somewhere. Puzzled, the twins looked up and were stunned to find that the dragons had each uprooted a tree and began dragging the trees in the sand. Hiccup and Hiccup could only watch in amazement as the two dragons did their version of drawing. When they were done, Hiccup and Hiccup started walking around observing the artwork made by the two dragons. Their thoughts were then interrupted by two sudden growls, again directed at Hiccup, who stopped in confusion. Hiccup turned and saw that her brother had stepped on one of the lines. She rushed to him and pulled him from there, careful not to ruin the artwork. Don't step on the lines. These guys are just like Rada whenever she finishes her artwork, she whispered. Hiccup nodded in understanding and both of them carefully stepped over the lines, being careful not to bump into each other. When they made it to a clear space, they then noticed that they were both inches away from the two Night Furies. The twins tried once again to reach their hand out only to get the same response from both dragons. The twins then tried a different approach. They each kept one hand up and looked away, letting the dragons decide to trust them or not. Both Night Furies, realizing the significance of this, decided to trust the two kids. The female Night Fury pressed her snout on Hiccup's hand while the male Night Fury pressed his snout on Hiccup's. Awestruck, Hiccup and Hiccup looked up at the Night Furies, who looked back at them and snorted as they went off. The twins, still amazed at what happened, looked at each other with only one word said, "Wow." Chapter 7. The Tail Fin. Quote. And with one twist, he took my hand, and swallowed it whole. The look on his face was as clear as day. I was delicious. He must have told the other dragons, because it wasn't a month before another one of bit my leg clean off. Later on, the twins went back to Burke to join Gobber and the other teens for dinner at the watchtower as Gobber shared the tale of how he lost his limbs. Hiccup and Astrid refused to acknowledge each other's presence after the Natter incident, and when they did make eye contact, they both glared daggers at each other. Isn't it weird to think that your hand was traveling down a dragon's stomach? Like if you could still control it, then you could have killed the dragon from the inside by crushing his heart, or breaking its bones or something. Fishlegs said, earning weird looks from the others. This caused Hiccup to roll her eyes. That is completely flawed. When a person's arm gets cut off, so does the nerves that connects the arm to the brain. Since the brain has no way to send nerve impulses to the arm, it can no longer be in control of it at all. What Fishlegs is saying completely defies that. She whispered to her brother, who nodded in understanding. He doesn't have the level of knowledge that his sister has in medicine, but he knew enough to be able to keep up with her. I swear, I'm so angry right now. I'll revenge for your beautiful hand and your beautiful foot. I'll run up to the dragons and chop off every limb in their body. With my face. Snotlout boasted. At least he'll use his head for something. Hiccup whispered to his sister, causing her to giggle. Don't aim for its limbs, aim for its wings and tails. If it can't fly, then it can't escape. A downed dragon is a dead dragon. Gobber informed them. This made the Haddock twins look up, horrified. One look exchanged and they knew exactly what the other was thinking. Oblivious to the Haddock twins' reaction, Gobber then got up, alright. I'm off to bed. You should be, too. Tomorrow we get to the big leagues. We will be slowly climbing up towards the monstrous nightmare. But who'll win the honor of killing it? Quote. Definitely me. It is my destiny after all. See. Toughnut bragged, showing everyone his mark. Fishlegs gasped, your mom let you get a tattoo. How? It's not a tattoo, idiot. It's a birthmark. It's been with me since birth. Okay, I've been stuck with you since birth, and I have never seen that before. Roughnut said. That's because you've just never seen me from the left side until now. Astrid then turned and noticed that two people were missing. Walking towards the spiral stairs, she saw Hiccup and Hiccup leaving in a hurry. She then dismissed it and went back to where the others were. What those two were up to was not something she would care about, especially not after today. Hiccup and Hiccup made their way to the forge, their goal clear in their minds. A downed dragon is a dead dragon. Hiccup stated. Not if we do something about it. Hiccup said with a determined look. The two then worked rigorously, finding every scrap of metal and leather they could find. After they were done, Hiccup held up the finished product, a prosthetic tailfin. You think this will work? He asked his sister. Only one way to find out. She replied. Then a thought entered her mind. Hey bro, I was thinking. Why don't we name the two Night Furies? Just to avoid confusion. If you don't mind, I would like to name the female Night Fury. That's exactly what I was thinking of. I even have a name picked for the male Night Fury. I also have one picked for the female. They then spoke at the same time, Toothless. Wait, what? We can't name them both Toothless. Hiccup said with her arms crossed. You're right. There's only one thing to do. Hiccup said as he went and picked up a dagger, call it. He said as he tossed the dagger in the air. Black. Hiccup said just before the dagger landed. They both took a closer look at the dagger and saw. Ha. Gray sighed. Pick a new name. A year ago the Haddock twins heard a story from Gobber about how the Hysterics chief, Norbert the Nutjob, decided his prisoners' fate by tossing his axe. From that story, the twins got the idea to get a dagger and paint one side black and the other side gray and use it to help them with some of their decisions. Hiccup huffed at losing the right to the name, then tried to come up with a new one. Let's see. New name, new name, new name. She then saw the Night Fury scales she collected the other day on her table and got an idea. Midnight. I will name the female Night Fury Midnight. She declared. Chapter 8. First Flight. The next day, the two of them arrived at the cove early morning before dragon training, each carrying a heavy basket. Toothless. Midnight. We've got breakfast for you too. The Night Furies then came up to them, seeming to like their new names. Hiccup and Hiccup then opened their baskets, revealing fishes to the two dragons. Okay, that's disgusting. You two are in for a treat. We've got some salmon, some nice Icelandic cod, and a whole smoked eel. Hiccup said. Just then Toothless and Midnight both backed away from the piles with a repulsed look directly towards the smoked eel. Hiccup then went to pick up the eel from Toothless' pile, causing both dragons to back away further. No, 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 no. It's okay. Yeah, I'm not a fan of eel either. Hiccup said as he threw the eel away. Let me just get that. Hiccup said as she picked up the eel from Midnight's pile and quickly threw it away. Sorry about that, guys. We'll be sure to remember not to get eel next time. Toothless and Midnight then went to eat the fish. While they were doing that, Hiccup quietly took the tailfin he brought with him and moved behind Toothless, while his sister kept an eye on the dragons. After a bit of struggle in trying to keep Toothless' tail still, Hiccup got on top of the tail and managed to strap the tailfin on. Unbeknownst to him, Toothless, who finished his meal, started noticing a sudden weight on his tail. He then spread his wings while Midnight looked at Hiccup in confusion. What was he up to? Hiccup then saw Toothless' reaction and tried to warn her brother, but he wasn't paying attention. It's okay. Okay. Okay, hold still. There. It looks alright, got the right measurements. He muttered, assessing the new tailfin. Hiccup. I really think you should get. However, she didn't get to finish her sentence as Toothless suddenly shot in the air with Hiccup in tow still on his tailfin. Whoa. No. 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 Hiccup. Just like before, Toothless started falling to the ground as the artificial tailfin could not open by itself. Before they could hit the ground, Hiccup manually opened the tailfin, causing Toothless to take a sharp turn away from the ground. Hiccup sighed in relief, happy to see that their new invention was working perfectly. Midnight looked up at her now airborne mate, getting ready to join him. But then one look at the girl, she realized that Hiccup would be left out because she would be the only one on the ground. An idea suddenly came to her. Hiccup got the shock of her life as Midnight suddenly grabbed her shoulders by her claws and flew her up. Whoa. What the? Midnight. Oh wow. Oh. Hiccup screamed as saw the ground getting smaller. However, as she started chuckling nervously, slowly becoming amazed at the view. As Toothless and Hiccup flew over the pond, Hiccup started to rejoice. Oh, my, it's working. Yes. Yes, we did it, Hiccup. This caused Toothless to realize that Hiccup was on his tail. With a snort, he used his tail to throw Hiccup into the pond. Unfortunately, that caused the artificial tail fin to close up and as a result, Toothless plummeted into the pond. This did not faze Hiccup though as he bobbed out of the pond feeling victorious. Midnight then flew to the ground with a gentle landing as she let go of Hiccup, causing the human girl to stumble. Chapter 9. The Hideous Zippleback. Today's lesson is about teamwork. After their impromptu flight, Hiccup and Hiccup made it back to the village in time for their next training exercise. The teens were put in 4 groups of 2, Hiccup and Fishlegs, Snotlout and Toughnut, Astrid and Roughnut and Hiccup and Rada. Each teen held onto a bucket of water as the arena was suddenly filled with smoke. Now, if you throw water at a dragon's head, then it can't produce fire. The hideous Zippleback is trickier than the other dragons. It has one head that breathes gas and one head that lights it. You need to know which is which. Gobber said as he watched the kids from a safe distance. The teams of 2 had their backs facing each other as the smoke separated them from the other teams, making them unable to see anything. Nervously, Fishlegs started stating facts about the Zippleback. Razor-sharp, serrated teeth that inject venom for pre-digestion. Prefers ambush attack, by crushing its victims. Hiccup, who is already on edge about their assignment, cut off Fishlegs' rambling. Will you please stop that? It's not helpful in any way. Both teams Astrid and Roughnut and Hiccup and Rada were quiet as they kept an eye out for the dragon. A thought suddenly came to Hiccup. If we see one of the heads of the dragon, only one of us should throw water at it, since there will be a 1 in 2 chance of getting it wrong. She whispered to Rada. Rada nodded at that. Good idea. You throw the water first. Snotlout and Toughnut however did not have the same strategy. If that dragon shows either of his faces, I'm gonna, Snotlout started to say before noticing a shadow. There it is. He and Toughnut then threw their buckets at what they thought were dragons only to hear 2 feminine screams. The smoke cleared revealing to be Roughnut and Astrid. Hey. It's us, idiots. Have you gone blind or something? Roughnut said, completely drenched. Toughnut was not bothered by this. Your butts are getting bigger. We thought you were a dragon. Not that there's anything wrong with having a dragon-esque figure. I don't mind. Snotlout said before getting punched in the face by Astrid. Roughnut threw her bucket at Toughnut causing him to fall. Suddenly, Toughnut got pulled into the smoke. Astrid put an arm in front of Roughnut, preventing her from going after her brother. Wait, she whispered. After a moment of silence, a tail swooped in from behind knocking both girls of their feet and Astrid to lose her bucket of water. Toughnut then emerged out of the smoke. Oh, I'm hurt. I am very much hurt. He yelled as he ran. Unfortunately, he didn't see where he was going and knocked right into. Ah. Rada and Hiccup yelled as Toughnut ran right into them causing them to also lose their buckets of water. Toughnut. You idiot. Rada shouted at the male Thorsten twin who got up and continued to run away. That only left Hiccup and Fishlegs. Chances of survival have rapidly dwindled into single digits. Fishlegs said nervously. Then one of the heads of the Zippleback emerged from the smoke and zeroed in on Fishlegs. Panicking, Fishlegs threw the water at the head. The Zippleback seemed unfazed as it began to spew out green gas while the other head came into view. Oh, whoops. Wrong head. Fishlegs said now scared. The Zippleback then blasted the green gas at Fishlegs. Fishlegs. Gobber yelled in concern. Thankfully, Fishlegs managed to get out of there before the other Zippleback head could ignite the gas. Then there was one. Now, Hiccup. Throw it. As the Zippleback raised both its heads higher, Hiccup threw the bucket with all the strength he had. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to reach the dragon and he ended up getting himself drenched. Oh, come on. He muttered as he held his bucket up. Luck and strength were not in his favor at all. Then the Zippleback got him pinned, ready to fire at him. Hiccup. Both Gobber and Hiccup yelled in fear. Gobber was about to go in and help him, but then stopped. Suddenly the Zippleback started moving away from the boy in fear. Gobber and the teens were shocked by this. Since when did one of the weakest teen become intimidating to a dragon? Hiccup quickly put two and two together and had her arms crossed and slowly shaking her head in amusement. Back, 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 back I say. Don't you make me tell you again. Yes, that's right. Get back into your cage, right now. Now, think about what you've done. As Hiccup got the dragon back into its cage, he took out the eel he had hidden in his vest and threw it into the cage, making the Zippleback back into a corner in fear. As he locked up the cage, he turned back to see everyone, except Hiccup, looking back at him in complete shock. Okay. So, is the lesson over? Because Hiccup and I've got some things we need to, Yep. We'll see you tomorrow. Come on Hiccup. See you guys later. Hiccup said, casually waving at everyone as she left to join her brother. Wow. Rada said, finally breaking the silence. How in the world did Hiccup do that? Whatever it was, Hiccup is obviously in on it. You used the eel, didn't you? Hiccup asked as soon as they were away from the arena. Hiccup nodded. How else? Well played, bro. Well played. Did you see the looks on the other's face? I know, right. They were looking like they saw a ghost or something. Fishlegs even dropped and he didn't realize it. Even Astrid was shocked and speechless. I didn't even think that was possible. Come on, let's go to the cove. I know two dragons who are going to get double the amount of fish this time. Hiccup said. They broke into a run towards the forest. You know, I have a feeling that things are going to be a lot different from now onwards. Hiccup said as they ran. Little did she know, her prediction will come true in a few weeks. This was just the beginning. Chapter 10. The Development. The next month, the Haddock twins worked most of the nights to improve Toothless' prosthetic tailfin. They started by making saddles. The next morning, after chasing the two dragons down for hours to get the saddles on, they went on separate test flights with Hiccup learning to get used to flying on Midnight and Hiccup trying to find a way to control Toothless' tailfin manually. It seemed to be going well, until Hiccup and Midnight took a sharp turn, causing Hiccup to fall off the saddle, knocking Hiccup and Toothless, who were flying below them, into the pond. This caused the two teens to come to the same conclusion: harnesses and riding vests. So they spent the next night making the vests with ropes attached to the saddles to make them more secure. The next day, both teens and dragons worked on their flight until Hiccup and Toothless crash landed in a grassy field. Hiccup landed her dragon on the field and got off Midnight to check on her brother and make sure he did not sustain any wounds. After she finished her quick check-up, they both turned around and saw Midnight and Toothless rolling around in the grass in a pure bliss. Hiccup picked up some of the grass and sniffed it. Smells like garlic. She commented. Seeing how much their dragons enjoyed the grass gave the twins an idea. At the next dragon training, the teens once again had to face the Gronkle. This time they both snuck in the grass, which they have dubbed as Dragon Nip. When the Gronkle charged after Hiccup, he held the Dragon Nip in front of him, causing the dragon to stop as its pupils widened in the delight at the scent. The other teens, except Hiccup and Astrid, were once again impressed and amazed at how Hiccup could easily defeat the dragon. They started hanging out with the Haddock twins more, trying to find out how Hiccup did it. Oh, look at that. I just remembered that I left my axe back in the ring. Why don't you guys go on ahead and I'll catch up with you? Hiccup said, subtly signaling his sister. Hiccup got the message. Oh, so did I. I'll come with you, she said, and they ran back, nearly running into Astrid, who seemed a bit suspicious. Soon, the two made it back to the cove, where Hiccup started giving Toothless a good scratch. He then scratched under the chin, causing the Night Fury to instantly drop in deep sleep. Out of curiosity, Hiccup did the same with Midnight and got the same result. We need to keep a journal with us to write all this stuff down, Hiccup said, with her brother nodding in agreement. Next day in the arena, the teens were up against the blue deadly natter. Gobber decided to be nice enough to only let one deadly natter out this time. This didn't really make a difference to the teens though. Closing parenthesis dot. As the natter charged after Hiccup, she dropped her axe and shield, making the natter stop in confusion. Why was this human not attacking? A battle cry made Hiccup look up and saw Astrid running towards the natter with her axe ready. Hiccup frantically scratched the natter under its chin, trying to find its weak spot. She found it just in time as the natter instantly dropped to the ground, causing Astrid to stop and look at her in shock. That night Hiccup and Hiccup went to the Great Hall for dinner. They went to sit with Rada, and what they didn't expect was to be instantly swarmed by all the Vikings, teens and adults. All that is except for a blonde Hofferson girl who was not happy with the turn of events. Another flight trial with Hiccup and Toothless resulted in another crash landing onto the ground. Hiccup slowly tried to get up, cradling his left arm, as his sister came. Hiccup. Are you okay? Hiccup asked, worried. Don't worry, sis. I'm fine. Hiccup said, still holding his left arm. Hiccup, knowing her brother too well, was not convinced. She grabbed his left arm, ignoring his protest, and pulled down his sleeve, revealing his bleeding arm. She then gave him a look that said, who are you trying to fool? Sit down, bro. Good news is you're not going to need stitches. Just need to get this wrapped. She then brought out her first aid kit and did what she did best, healing people. Toothless and Midnight came over to the two, curious to see what Hiccup was doing. Dragon and Dragoness, I present to you my sister, the healer. Hiccup said, gesturing to Hiccup with his right hand. Hiccup smiled at this and continued, maybe when Dad comes back, I might be able to finally tell him. Hopefully it can work out. Then one day, Hiccup and Hiccup brought their tools to the cove to work on Toothless' saddle without being spotted by their new fans. As they were working, Hiccup looked up and saw Toothless chasing a tiny spotlight being reflected from his hammer. He then moved the hammer, making the light move as well, making Toothless chase after it. Hiccup, who was watching this, picked a dagger. Midnight and Toothless trust the twins enough to let them bring the dagger without fear of being attacked, and used it to shine a light on Midnight, who started chasing it as well. With their entire focus on their own spot of light, both Night Furies pounced and accidentally head-butted each other, causing Hiccup and Hiccup to burst out laughing at the dragon's confused reactions. Next, dragon training, the teens fought against another new dragon. Meet the Terrible Terror. Gobber announced. But instead of a large, intimidating dragon that the teens were used to, a small and seemingly harmless dragon came out of the cage. Toughnut was amused by this. Ha! That is a terrifying dragon. That's like the size of my. As if it detected the insult, the Terrible Terror flew to Toughnut in a blur and started to bite his nose, making the other teens cautiously step back. Help! Help! Get it off! Oh, I'm hurt. I am very much hurt. I'm dying. Toughnut yelled in pain. The dragon then got off Toughnut and started chasing a spotlight on the ground, created by Hiccup and her shield. It then moved back into the cage with Hiccup behind to close the small door, once again impressing everyone who is present except for Hiccup and Astrid. Wow, she and Hiccup are better than you ever were. Toughnut said to Astrid as he got up. This made Astrid glare harder as she looks at Hiccup, who had just finished locking the gate. How are they doing this? Angry at the Haddock twins for outshining her, Astrid decided to go to the forest to train and to let out her frustrations. How can those two suddenly become good? They're not even using any weapons at all. They are both up to something, and I am going to find out what it is. The memory of the Natter incident then came to mind, as well as what Hiccup told her. She was completely shocked at the Hiccup's outburst, along with everyone else, and a small part of her did feel guilty. I can't feel sorry about this. I am warrior. I need to do this for my family. She then got out her axe, did a tuck and roll, and was about to throw it at a tree when she stopped. Right in front of her were Hiccup and Hiccup, with Hiccup carrying something in his arms. Both of them froze for a second, not expecting to run into Astrid, and then ran off. Astrid tried to follow them, but lost their trail, much to her annoyance and frustration. I will definitely get them next time. Meanwhile, the Haddock twins made it to cove where Hiccup was putting on the finishing touches to the Toothless tailfin and saddle. He and his sister modified the left stirrup of the saddle so that Hiccup could control the prosthetic tailfin with his left foot. He brought a rope, a peg and a hammer and started pounding the peg to the ground. What are you doing? Hiccup asked as she got on Midnight. I need to see which tail position does what. I'm making a cheat sheet. Can't you do that without being tethered? Learn on the job. Like Gobber always say. Well, that method nearly got me killed on the first day of dragon training. So I'll just stick to my method. Hiccup replied as he tied the rope onto the saddle. Hiccup just shrugged. Well, you better learn fast or Midnight and I will be far better than you two. Midnight warbled in agreement. Hiccup and Toothless just rolled their eyes. No way were they going to let the girls be better than them. As Hiccup and Midnight flew close by, Hiccup and Toothless worked out the different tail positions. It was all working out fine, until the rope snapped, causing Hiccup and Toothless to fly backwards. They then bumped into Hiccup and Midnight, who happened to be flying by, and all four of them crashed into a tree. Luckily, the harnesses prevented the twins from flying further away from their dragons. As Hiccup got up, she noticed that her safety hook has been bent, making her tethered to Midnight. Hiccup. I think we got a problem here. She said nervously. Actually, sis, we've got two problems. Hiccup said, equally nervous. Hiccup turned and saw that her brother had the same problem. Oh boy. Late at night, back in the village, most of the people have gone to bed. Hiccup and Hiccup were leaning against one of the houses, acting casual as a man walked by them. Hiccup. Hiccup. The man greeted. The twins waved back. As soon as the man left, the twins checked to make sure no one is around, and then they walked ahead, pulling their harnesses to keep Toothless and Midnight with them. Hiccup. I will have you know that I think this is a stupid plan that's going to give us a one-way ticket to banishment. Hiccup whispered to her brother. Well, I didn't hear you come up with a better plan. Hiccup retorted as they quietly made their way to the forge. When they reached the forge, Toothless stuck his head in a bucket and threw it off, while Midnight accidentally knocked some swords with her tail. Both these actions made some noises which caught the attention of a certain girl nearby. Inside the forge, Hiccup and Hiccup work fast to fix the safety hook when suddenly a voice called out to them. Hiccup. Hiccup. Are you two in there? This caused the twins to freeze. Astrid. Hiccup mouthed to his sister. I can't go. Hiccup mouthed back. She was still not on speaking terms with Astrid. Hiccup then got out of the forge, pulling Toothless along with him, much to the dragon's dismay. Astrid. Hey. Hi, Astrid. Hi, Astrid. Hi, Astrid. How are you? It's a nice day, isn't it? Hiccup, who was overhearing this, silently face-palmed. Her brother was not good at acting subtle at all. She finished fixing her own safety hook and started working on her brother's, while also listening into the conversation outside. I normally don't care what people do, but you and your sister are acting weird. Astrid said. Just then Toothless spotted a sheep that froze at the sight of a dragon. This caused Hiccup to be pulled back to the door. Hiccup gave a nervous laugh as Hiccup silently scolded Toothless, trying to get him to stay. Well, weirder than normal. Astrid said, looking at Hiccup. Suddenly, Hiccup was pulled inside. Astrid rushed inside the forge, but to her shock, it was empty. Unbeknownst to her, two teens and two dragons were rushing into the forest, back to a familiar place. Chapter 11. The Way with Beasts. The next day came as a nerve-wracking moment for most of the teens. Today, they wouldn't be doing any exercises. All right everyone. After seeing each and every one of you perform in this arena, and I've come to a decision on the top two who will be chosen to go head to head to see who will win the honor of killing their first dragon. He then paused and continued. This time, however, is going to be a bit different. I decided that instead of making it a top 2, it's going to be a top 3. That got Fishlegs, Snotlout, Roughnut, Toughnut and Rada more excited and nervous. That has never happened before. Obviously Hiccup and Hiccup were going to get chosen for their outstanding and consistent performances, but who's going to be the third person chosen? The 3 people chosen are Hiccup, Hiccup and Astrid. Congratulations you 3. Rada, I'm sorry but you just missed out by a hair. Better luck next time. Rada just looked down, a bit disappointed. Hiccup and Hiccup looked at her and felt upset for her and guilty. They were breezing through each training exercise with their new tricks and Rada was struggling to keep up. They know how important it is for her to get chosen. Maybe they could have let her in on their secret. But they were not sure how she would take their secret. They befriended creatures who have been enemies with Vikings for 300 years. The same creatures who have killed majority of her ancestors and her relatives. Would she accept their secret or would she turn her back on them and tell everyone? They weren't so sure. The 3 of you train hard and may the best recruit win. Gobber's voice broke the Haddock twins out of their thoughts. After a round of congratulations, everyone left the arena except for Hiccup, Hiccup and Rada. Hey, congratulations again guys for making it to the top 3. Rada said to the twins. Thanks Ray. I'm really sorry you didn't get chosen as well. Hiccup said. She truly was. It's fine. I wasn't really looking forward to the extra training I would have to do if I did get chosen. Rada said a bit downcast. She then added, it's just a bit frustrating all that training I went through only to narrowly miss out the chance to really show my parents I can be a good shield maiden. Again, the twins felt guilty. Hiccup then spoke up. Ray, you are already a good shield maiden. You don't need to be chosen for this to prove that. I can't think of anyone else who would have the courage to charge into a battlefield with nothing but bows and arrows, two easily breakable weapons, and make them look intimidating. Yeah, Ray. If that doesn't show your parents that you're a good shield maiden, then it's too bad for them because they are missing out on a lot of potential, not just in combat but in arts. This made Rada smile. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Good luck against Astrid and each other. I'll be sure to get front row seats to watch you guys. A battered ship came to the docks of Berk with its occupants not so happy. Gabber approached the ship as the people were coming out. Well, I trust you found the nest at least. He asked. Not even a glimpse. Stoik said, frustrated at their failure. Ah, excellent. Gabber said sarcastically. I hope you had better luck than I did. Stoik said. Well, if by luck, you mean that your parenting troubles are over with, then, yes. Gabber replied. Before Stoik could ask what he meant by that, some of the villagers who stayed behind walked by him congratulating him. Congratulations, Stoik. Everyone is so relieved. Out with the old and in with the new, right? No one will miss those old nuisances. The village is throwing a party to celebrate. Hearing that, Stoik paled and turned to Gabber. They're gone. He asked fearfully. Yeah, most afternoons. But who can blame them? I mean, being a celebrity can be tough. Those two can barely walk through the village without being swarmed by their new adoring fans. Gabber told him. Hiccup and Hiccup. Stoik asked, shocked by what he was hearing. Didn't see that one coming, eh? Those two have this way with the beasts. What the two men didn't know was that the twins in question were off flying with two of the beasts. Chapter 12. Test Flight. Okay there, bud, we're going to go slow and steady until we get the hang of this. Hiccup said before he consulted his newly made cheat sheet which was clipped onto his saddle. Here we go. Here we go, position 3, no, 4. The Haddock twins and the Night Furies flew downwards and then through the sea stacks with perfect maneuvers. Yes, it worked. Alright. All was going well until. Whoops. Sorry. Hiccup shouted as he flew Toothless into one of the sea stacks, my bad. He apologized as he flew him into another 1 seconds later. Annoyed, Toothless hit him with his ear plate. Yeesh. Alright, I get it. You have a cheat sheet in front of you and you're still crashing into sea stacks. That's just sad. Hiccup called out as she and Midnight flew by the boy's side. Hey, I'd like to see you try and control half a dragon's tailfin. Hiccup retorted before checking his cheat sheet. Position 4, 3. Then he and Toothless flew upwards followed by Hiccup and Midnight. Woohoo. This is so cool. Hiccup shouted feeling the rush of adrenaline kick in. Oh, this is amazing. The wind in my. Before Hiccup could finish his sentence, the rapid wind blew the cheat sheet out of the clip of the saddle, making it fly above Hiccup. Cheat sheet. Stop. He yelled out as he tried to catch the cheat sheet. He caught it, but when he jumped from the saddle, his harness got unhooked by the saddle causing Hiccup and Toothless to free fall, much to theirs and the girl's horrors. Hiccup. Toothless. Hiccup yelled before she and Midnight dived down to try and save them. Hang on, guys. Hang on. We're coming. As they were falling, Hiccup tried desperately to get back on the saddle. Alright. Easy bud. Just angle yourself. Okay. No, no, no. Come back down towards me. This way. Come back down Yao. He yelled as Toothless accidentally hit him with his tailfin. Faster Midnight. Faster. Hiccup cried, hoping to get to the boys in time. Fortunately, Hiccup just managed to reattach himself back to the saddle, with his cheat sheet in his mouth. Hiccup and Hiccup then pulled their dragons out and into oncoming sea stacks. Hiccup tried to look at the cheat sheet, but the wind was making him unable to see it. Suddenly, with a newfound sense of determination, he decided to throw the cheat sheet away and let his instincts take over. Both he and his sister guided their dragons through the sea stacks without bumping into each other. They moved in perfect sync. It was like all four of them had the same mindset. After they made it out of the sea stacks, it took a few minutes for the twins to register what happened before they raised their hands up in triumph. Yeah, we did that, they shouted. Midnight and Toothless decided to add to the celebration by firing one plasma blast each, much to the twins' dismay. Ah, come on. Of course this has to happen to us. They muttered as they flew into the inferno. After that, they landed on a deserted place. Hiccup and Midnight were catching fish to eat while Hiccup and Toothless were gathering wood to get a fire going. The four of them sat down and enjoyed the view of the sunset, while eating fishes. Toothless and Midnight regurgitated one fish each to offer to their riders while their fishes were cooking. It's fine, Midnight. My fish is almost done. Hiccup said politely. No thanks, bud. I have my own. Hiccup said, showing Toothless his fish. Well, overall I'd say it was a good official first-time flight. Hiccup said. Yeah, if you ignore the near death and the flying into fire part. Hiccup said sarcastically. Suddenly a group of terrible terrors came by, attracted to the fish. As they came closer, Toothless and Midnight gave a warning growl, protectively keeping their fishes away from the smaller dragons. This did not deter the terrible terrors though, as one of them grabbed the fish that Toothless regurgitated for Hiccup. Another terror came and snatched it away, causing the two terrors to start fighting. Toothless and Midnight snorted at the sight until one of the fish caught Toothless' eye. It started to move on its own. Toothless then took the fish and ate it, revealing another terrible terror behind the deception. Upset about losing the fish, the dragon was getting ready to fire at Toothless. But just as it opened its mouth, Toothless fired a plasma blast at its mouth, causing the dragon to fall down, then stumble away defeated. Not fireproof on the inside. Hiccup noted. I'll add this to the journal. Hiccup said, taking the journal out of her satchel. As she was writing this new piece of information down, Hiccup tossed one of his fish towards the terrible terror. There you go. The dragon ate it up instantly and then went to lie down next to Hiccup. Any idea on how we can use this in the next training without anybody getting suspicious? Hiccup asked. When her brother didn't answer her, she looked up and saw him petting the sleeping terrible terror next to him. She then got up and went to sit next to him. Hiccup then came to a realization, everything we know about you guys is wrong. All this time, we've been fighting against dragons when we could be living in peace with them. It could have saved so many lives, both human and dragons. Hiccup said, looking at the sleeping terror. Chapter 13. The Helmets. At night, Hiccup and Hiccup went back to their room in the forge, contemplating on their new discovery. They didn't notice someone entering their room until they looked up and jumped from their places. Dad, you're back, already. Gobber went to bed so. Hiccup said, trying to be casual while covering the drawings he and Hiccup made of Toothless and Midnight. I know. I came looking for you too. Stoic said in a serious tone. You did? Hiccup and Hiccup asked, surprised. You two have been keeping secrets. Stoic said bluntly. This caused the twins to start worrying, but they did their best not to show it. We have. Hiccup asked, trying to play dumb. What secrets? Hiccup asked as well. Just how long did you two think you could hide it from me? We don't know what you're. Nothing happens on this island without me hearing about it. Stoic said firmly. Oh. Hiccup asked, getting tenser. Really? Hiccup asked. So, let's talk about those dragons. Stoic said. Hiccup and Hiccup paled. How did he find out their secret? No wonder he looks grim. Oh, they have some explaining to do. Oh, gods. Dad, we're so sorry about this. This was a sudden thing. We just didn't know how to. Hiccup began to explain but was then cut off by their dad's laughter. Shocked by this, the twins laughed nervously. Why is their dad laughing? You're happy about this? Hiccup stated with uncertainty. What? Are you kidding me? I was hoping for this. Stoic exclaimed with joy. This confused the twins even further. What? You were? Hiccup asked, wondering if they were on the same page. And believe me, it only gets better from here. Just wait, till one of you spill a natter's guts for the first time. And the thrill you get when you mount your first gronkle head on a spear. What a feeling. Stoic said in excitement. This caused the twins to sigh. Of course, their dad would be talking about their performances in the arena. There was no way he could miss something like that. The mention of the natter's gut and gronkle head on a spear made Hiccup mentally shudder. Those images were going to haunt her for a while. Her father didn't notice her discomfort and continued. You two really had me going there. All those years of being two of the worst Vikings Burke has ever seen. Odin, it was rough. Lots of difficult times. I almost gave up on both of you. And all the while, you two were holding out on me. Thor Almighty. This made the twins crestfallen. Two of the worst Vikings. They knew that they weren't exactly the best with the way they always caused destruction to the village and their inability to any weapon other than a dagger, but were they that bad? With both of you doing so well in the ring, we finally have something to talk about. Stoic said. He then sat down, eagerly waiting for his kids to speak. There was an awkward pause as the twins felt uncomfortable. This is what they've always wanted, yet now they both wished this wasn't happening. Yes, they still want a better relationship with their dad, but not like this, not because they were using tricks to be good at dragon training. Neither of them could say anything. Stoic decided to break the silence. Oh, I brought you two something. To keep you safe in the ring. He then handed them two horned helmets. Wow. Thanks. Hiccup said sincerely. You didn't have to, Dad. Hiccup said as she took her helmet. Your mother would have wanted both of you to have it. She had these made just for you two after you were born. Wear it proudly. Both of you deserve it. You've held up your end of the deal. This made the twins uncomfortable again. If only he knew. Hiccup then gave a fake yawn. We should really get to bed. Yeah, we can't go into the arena half asleep. Hiccup said, catching on to what her brother was doing. Stoic, realizing they were right, started getting up to leave. Yes. Good. Okay. Good talk. See you back at the house. I hope you like the hats. He said awkwardly as he stumbled on a few things on his way out. Yeah, good talk. We should definitely do this again. Thanks again for the hats. Hiccup then looked at his sister and remembered something. Oh, Dad, wait. He called out. Yes, son. Hiccup had something she needed to tell you about regarding the future. Hiccup said, giving a look to his sister that said, tell him now. Knowing what her brother was talking about, Hiccup took a deep breath. Why yes, the future. Well, I just wanted to make sure you'll be able to come watch us at the arena tomorrow. She said meekly, causing Hiccup to face palm. That was not what he wanted her to say. Oblivious to his son's face palm, Stoic answered Hiccup's question. Of course, Hiccup. In fact, I'll be getting the best view to watch you too. Good, that's good. So we'll just finish up here and head home. Hiccup said, still feeling nervous. Okay, don't stay up late either of you. With that he left. Seeing the look on her brother's face, Hiccup spoke up. I know what you're going to say, Hiccup. I panicked. Okay. I just wasn't ready to tell him that I want to be a healer. Hiccup, do you realize how lucky you are? You know exactly who you are and who you're supposed to be. You have a gift that can help so many people if you are given the chance. I don't have that luxury. You know that. I know. Hopefully, if I don't get chosen for the final exam, I can try telling Dad, but. She then went in deep thought, a distressed look on her face. Hiccup noticed that. Sis, are you okay? He asked, worried. I don't think I can do this, Hiccup. Kill a dragon. I couldn't do it before and I definitely can't do it now. I don't know what I'm going to do if I get chosen. She started to panic. Hiccup then went by her side to give her a hug, calming her down. Sis, it's going to be okay. You won't get chosen. We'll let Astrid win and she'll get chosen. Tomorrow, you just run away from the dragon and let me do better than you. There'll be a less likely chance for you to get chosen that way. Hiccup said. Hiccup nodded, however still felt a bit panicked. With them, there's absolutely no guarantee that their plans will work. She just hoped tomorrow will be an exception. Trying to lighten his sister's mood, Hiccup spoke up. You asked the chief if he was going to attend an event that no doubt every villager is going to come to. How are you the better liar than me? This worked. Forgetting her distress, Hiccup rolled her eyes. Please. Have you ever heard your own lies? Chapter 14. Secret revealed. The arena was filled with every Viking in the village, all there to see three teens battle it out to decide who will get chosen for the final exam. On the ground were numerous barriers set up as a Gronkle roamed around, looking for targets. Hiding behind one of those barriers was Hiccup, who was then joined by Astrid. As Hiccup tried to move away, Astrid held his shield down. You and your sister stay out of my way. I'm going to win, Astrid said firmly, before running off. Good. Go ahead, be my guest. Hiccup said sincerely as he got up. He looked to the side too and saw his sister behind another barrier, being sure to keep her distance from the dragon. He then looked up and saw his father watching him and his sister with a proud smile on his face. Hiccup held his axe and shield up, trying to show enthusiasm and failing. Unbeknownst to him, the Gronkle spotted him and started flying towards him. Meanwhile, Astrid switched from barrier to barrier, determined to win. This time, for sure, she said to herself. She then gave a battle cry and charged after the Gronkle. Only to find it seemingly defeated by Hiccup already. This pushed Astrid even further if possible. No. No. Seriously. Son of half troll, rat eating munch bucket. She yelled as she threw her axe. Wait. Wait. Stoic said, shushing the crowd. So, later. Hiccup said, trying to leave. But he was stopped by Gobber. Not so fast. He said. Hiccup and I are actually kinda late for. He was then cut off by Astrid, who held her axe close to Hiccup's neck. What? Late for what, exactly? Astrid said, angry at yet another defeat. Astrid, leave him alone. Hiccup shouted, walking closer to the two. Okay, quiet down. The elder has made her decision. Stoic announced, giving space for Gothi, the village elder. Gobber raised his hand, pointing to Astrid. Gothi shook her to say no. Gobber then pointed to Hiccup. She closed her eyes and, along with her brother, held her breath. If Astrid wasn't chosen, then it's either her or her brother, and she didn't know which choice was worst. Again, Gothi shook her head to say no. As much as she was impressed by the young Haddock girl's performance in training, her medical skills were more impressive, and the elder felt that Hiccup would be a better healer than warrior. That only left. Gobber raised his hook above Hiccup's head and Gothi nodded. The crowd burst into applause. Hiccup was chosen. Congratulations, Hiccup. You get to kill the dragon. Gobber said, congratulating his apprentice. Ha, ha, that's my boy. Stoic said proudly, although he was a bit disappointed that his daughter didn't get chosen. Hiccup gave him a hug which, to everyone else, looked like she was congratulating him. She whispered in his ear, this is not part of the plan, Hiccup. What are going to do now? Hiccup couldn't answer that as Fishlegs and Snotlout came and hoisted him on their shoulders. Hey. Oh, yeah, yes. I can't wait. I am so. Leaving. We're leaving. All four of us. Let's pack up. Looks like we are going to take a little vacation, forever. Hiccup called to Toothless as he walking in the cove carrying a basket, with his sister walking behind him with her own basket. Hopefully we can find a place that is not in war with dragons. Hiccup said. Yeah, that will be easy. Hiccup said sarcastically as he set his basket near a boulder and got down to check everything inside it. A shring sound caused him to look up and see Astrid sit on top of the boulders, sharpening her axe with a stone. Ag. What are you doing here? Hiccup asked, trying to sound casual. This caused his sister to turn around and see Astrid as well, causing her to panic. Oh no. Of course this has to happen to us. Hiccup muttered. Astrid stopped sharpening her axe and turned to the twins. I want some answers. She got off the boulder and walked closer to the twins. No one just gets as good as you two do. Especially you two. Start talking, now. Have you two been training with someone? She asked, causing the two in question to stutter nervously. Training. Hiccup said, panicking. Us? Hiccup asked. It better not involve these. Astrid said, gesturing to the riding vests. I know this looks really bad, but we have a good and logical explanation. Hiccup tried to explain, but then a sound from behind them caught Astrid's attention and she started moving towards it to investigate. Wait. Hang on, Astrid. We can explain. Hiccup said. Hiccup then stepped in front of Astrid, trying to stop her. You're right. You're right. We have been keeping secrets. But not anymore, we're through with the lies. We've been making outfits. So, congratulations, you figured it out. It's time we tell everyone. Take us back. Go ahead. Here we go. He then took her hand, which he regretted doing so as Astrid bends his arm back, painfully causing Hiccup to fall. Ow. Why would you do that? That's for the lies. Astrid before dropping her axe, making the handle bounce on Hiccup's stomach before catching. And that's for everything else. That pushed Hiccup to the edge. Astrid, that's enough, okay? All we did was doing better in training. That's what the whole village wanted us to do. So just back off. She yelled, pushing Astrid back. You back off, Hiccup. Astrid yelled, shoving her back. Before Hiccup could say anything else, Toothless and Midnight decided to make their presence known to the blonde girl, angry at her for attacking their humans. Seeing them made Astrid gasp. Get down. She said, pushing Hiccup, who was starting to get up, back to the ground. Toothless saw this as an attack towards Hiccup and started charging towards her with Midnight right behind him. Run. Run. Astrid yelled to the twins as she got up and got her axe ready. Before she could swing, Hiccup got up and snatched the axe out of her hands while Hiccup came in front of the two dragons to calm them down. Guys, settle down. It's okay. Hiccup and I are fine. We're not hurt. Hiccup is right. We're both okay. She's a friend. It's okay. Hiccup added. He then turned to Astrid. You just scared them. He told her. I scared them. Astrid yelled incredulously. Then realization hit her. Who are them? She asked in a low voice. When neither of them could come up with an excuse, Hiccup spoke up. Astrid, meet Toothless and Midnight. Toothless and Midnight, meet Astrid. He introduced the three. He and his sister already knew what the outcome is going to be. Just as they predicted, Astrid gave them a look of disgust and ran away from them, towards the path of the village. And there she goes. Hiccup sighed. Of all the people to find out their secret, it had to be Astrid. We're dead. Hiccup stated. Glad that the blonde girl has left, Toothless and Midnight gave shrugs and started to leave. Whoa. Where do you two think you're going? Hiccup asked to the dragons. Get back here, guys. We have a mission. Hiccup called out. Astrid ran through the forest as fast as she could, turning around to make sure the Haddock twins weren't following her, when suddenly she was grabbed from above. Oh, great Odin's ghost. Oh, this is it. She yelled as she saw the view of the ground, not quite amazed at the sight as Hiccup was. Toothless then flew her on top of a tall tree, making her hang on to a branch before settling on top of it. Hiccup and Midnight flew around the three of them. Hiccup. Get me down from here. Astrid yelled. Or what, Astrid? Hiccup yelled back, happy with the turn of events. You have to give us a chance to explain. Hiccup said. Why should I? Astrid demanded. Because you want to live. Hiccup suggested calmly. I am not listening to anything either of you have to say. Astrid shouted. You hear that, Hiccup? She obviously doesn't want to listen to us. Let's just leave her there. Hiccup said before guiding Midnight to leave. Hiccup, get back here. Hiccup said in a soft yet strict voice. Rolling her eyes, Hiccup made Midnight stay. Hiccup then turned to Astrid. Then neither of us will speak. Just let us show you. Please, Astrid. He offered, extending his hand for her to take. Astrid looked him, mentally debating on whether to agree or not, when Hiccup spoke up. I hate to point out the obvious, Astrid, but that's kind of the only choice you have. You know, if you still want to live. She said nonchalantly. Realizing Hiccup is right, Astrid got on Toothless' saddle, pushing Hiccup's hand away. Toothless gave a growl, warning the girl not to do anything to harm Hiccup. Now, just get me to the ground. Astrid ordered. Hiccup complied. Toothless, down. Gently. Toothless, however, had other plans. He started to slowly spread his wings. Catching on to what her mate was planning to do, Midnight flew a bit away from the three, giving Toothless a clear path. Oblivious to what his dragon was up to, Hiccup turned to Astrid. See. Nothing to be afraid of. He soon regretted saying that as Toothless shot into the air. Wow, you guys never cease to amaze me. Hiccup commented, watching Toothless fly at breakneck speed. She and Midnight then went to catch up with them. Whoa. Toothless. What is wrong with you? What do you think you're doing? Bad dragon. Very bad dragon. He's not usually like this. Hiccup yelled as Astrid screamed, completely frightened, trying to hang on. Toothless then took a plunge towards the ocean. Oh, no. Hiccup muttered, realizing what Toothless was going to do next. Toothless kept diving in and out of the ocean. Toothless, what are you doing? Stop it. We need her to like us. Hiccup watched the scene in front of her from a safe distance with Midnight, impressed with the stunts Toothless was performing. That actually looks like fun. Toothless then flew up and started spinning in the air, terrifying Astrid even further. Oh great, the spinning. That's really helpful. Thank you for nothing, you useless reptile. Hiccup said sarcastically. Having had enough, Astrid breathed out. Okay. I am sorry. I'm sorry I hurt you. Just get me off of this thing. She pleaded, burying her face behind Hiccup's back. That was all Toothless needed to hear as he stopped spinning and flew upwards, towards the clouds with Midnight following him. When Astrid opened her eyes and looked up, she was awestruck by the sight. The clouds was like a soft layer beneath the teens and dragons while sunset reflected beautifully in the sky. She couldn't help but smile as she touched the clouds. Hiccup saw Astrid smile and remembered the girl that used to be her best friend, the girl she really misses. Alright, I admit it. This is pretty cool. It's amazing. They are both amazing. Astrid admitted, looking at both Toothless and Midnight. Sorry again for how I was acting before. She opened her mouth to say more, but then she hesitated. Instead, she asked Hiccup a question. So, what now? Neither Hiccup nor Hiccup replied to that, knowing what she was talking about. Hiccup, your final exam is tomorrow. You know you're going to have to kill a. She then whispered in his ear so that Midnight and Toothless wouldn't listen. Kill a dragon. Don't remind me. Hiccup muttered. We honestly don't know what to do. There's no way Hiccup is going to go through with that. Hiccup sighed. The three of them were too busy. The problem, that none of them noticed Toothless and Midnight's ears perked up as if they heard something from a distance. Without any warning, the two dragons suddenly turned to another direction much to the teen's surprise.